Hey everybody, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Once again, welcome to the Calitraveler podcast show. I'm your host, Paul. Welcome back to the Calitraveler podcast show. We are on season 2, episode 7. Can you believe we are halfway through season 2 already? Wow. Time goes by so fast. I hope that all of you here in Thailand are enjoying your Songkran and you've had an amazing time with your family, been able to celebrate, of course, staying safe. This week's podcast covers something that is very dear to me, which is motorcycle riding. So we're going to be talking about motorcycle riding, how to ride a motorcycle in Thailand, and what to do in the event that something happens to you while on a motorcycle. So we'll be covering those 3 topics. First of all, I've been living in Thailand for the past 3 years. And in case you're wondering, no, I do not have a car. I have a motorcycle. Okay, moped, scooter, whatever. I have a 2020 Honda Click. Great bike. And it's absolutely amazing. Now, this is the 3rd motorcycle that I've owned in my 3 years. So the first motorcycle I had was a 2007 Honda Icon. I traded that in, ended up getting a 2010 Honda PCX. That bike was absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, the engine stopped working, and I ended up selling it and got the 2020 Honda Click. Now that PCX and I have had a lot of history together. In fact, I once drove 3 hours on that bike, which is a 125cc engine, all the way from Bangkok to Rayong, which is about 3 hours away on the Thai Gulf. The new bike, I have not gone out and gone on long trips with. But we'll get to that later on why I haven't taken long distance trips. First of all, if you want to rent a motorcycle here in Thailand, it is very easy. Now, if you are visiting Thailand as a tourist, you are not allowed to buy a motorcycle, for obvious reason. But you can rent a motorcycle. And typically a motorcycle can be anywhere between 200 baht to about 1,000 baht per day. And that would be anywhere between $10 to $30 US. Riding a motorcycle anywhere in Thailand is extremely convenient because you can cut the traffic, you get to your destinations a lot faster. However, there are some things you've got to know. Now, if you happen to be someone who lives in Thailand and you're looking to buy a motorcycle, I'm going to explain to you what you need to do. First of all, you go to the shop. Now, be careful what shops you go to. If you want to buy brand new, that's great. But if you're looking for something cheaper and you wanted to buy secondhand and you're going to a shop, just be careful. If you're a foreigner here in Thailand, bring a Thai friend with you. That way they will be able to help you out with translations or any other matters in terms of buying a motorcycle. So when you buy a motorcycle here in Thailand, they're going to ask you for your passport because they need to see your visa to make sure that you're actually living in Thailand. Second, I highly recommend getting your motorcycle license. If you've had your motorcycle license in another country and you have an international driver's permit for that motorcycle license, okay, that's not a problem. However, If you're in Thailand for more than 60 days, then you need to go to the Department of Land Transport, which would be Thailand's version of the Department of Motor Vehicles in the United States. And you have to apply for the motorcycle license. So when you go, you have to give them the paperwork. You have to do both a written test, a road test, and they have to also do a test on like your reflexes. And I'll get to that later. So you have your motorcycle license. Then they're going to ask you for a certificate from your embassy. Depending on your nationality, everybody's got different rules. Now, all information I'm giving you is for nationals of the United States. And they might ask you for a document, and it's just a blank document. You fill it out saying that you want to buy a motorcycle or sell a motorcycle or apply for your motorcycle license or register a motorcycle, whatever. So you go through this whole process. You find the bike you like, you buy it. If the bike is brand new, you can pay extra, and the dealer can actually take care of the vehicle registration for you, motorcycle registration for you. And what that entails is that it is your license plate and your tax stamp. Every single year, just like everywhere else, you have to re-register your car, and you pay what's called a road tax. That's what they call it here in Thailand, is the road tax. So you do that. Now, let's say you get on the road and you happen to not have your license. I recommend it, because if the police stop you here, you will get fined. I know it from experience because I got fined while I was in Pattaya. Pattaya is a coastal city on the Gulf of Thailand coast. It was 3 years ago when I first moved here. Didn't have my motorcycle license. I got fined about 900 baht, almost $30, for not having a license. So that week, I went to the Department of Land Transport and I got my motorcycle license. So when I went there, I handed them my documents for my passport, printed copies of my passport, the blank document from the American Embassy stating that I'm here to register, that I'm here to apply for a motorcycle license. Then after that, you do these tests to test out your reflexes and to test your overall sight. So one of the tests, you have these two poles, and you have to move them to be parallel to each other and get them as close as you can to one another. I believe that the distance is about 1 meter. Then they have you do this foot pedal test, where you step on the gas, and then when the light turns red, then you slam on the brake. And what that does is it shows your reflex that if something happens, you'll be able to slam on the brakes and be able to bring the vehicle to a complete stop. Then they have this traffic light that is different colors, and you have to say it, which, for those of you wondering if you do everything in Thai, they do things in both Thai and English, so it makes it very easy to understand. Then after that, you go outside and you do the actual motorcycle test. Now, you can bring your own motorcycle, or they have motorcycles that you can rent. It's like 50 baht, and 50 baht is about $2 US. And you have to drive this track. You stop at stop sign for about 30 seconds. You keep on going, and then at the end of it, there is this raised platform on the road, and this raised platform is demonstrating that you can balance the bike. If you fall off of it, if your tire falls off of that little ramp, then you fail the test. But other than that, it's pretty easy to pass. Once you pass, you do get your driver's license that same day. Because places like California, you've got to wait about 14 days, and then it comes in the mail. But here in Thailand, you get it the same day, and you're good to go. When you're registering a motorcycle, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be paying the road tax, and you have to also buy insurance. Now, there are 3 different types of insurance. You have Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. So Tier 1 is just the very basic coverage, so medical and liability. In the US, this would be referred to as liability. And then you have Tier 2, which is basically everything that Tier 1 has, but it's a little bit more coverage. And then Tier 3 is in the US what they would call full coverage. So they cover everything: collision damage, medical, liability, any legal trouble you get into, the insurance can help take care of that. And it's always very important to have that insurance. Now, the insurance, depending, Tier 1 can be around 2 to 400 baht, which would be about $10 to $15. And that insurance covers 1 year. That's it. You don't have to make monthly payments on the policy. That's it. You've paid it in full. And Tier 3, which is the highest, can be around 3,000 baht, about $100 US. Now, when you are getting on the road, the most important things that you must have is a jacket. I recommend having something like a windbreaker. If you can get an actual motorcycle jacket, great. Make sure that it's got padding that protects your elbows, shoulders, your back, and your chest. And those can be around like $200 at most. I happen to have a windbreaker that I got for free when I bought my Honda Click. I recommend also getting a helmet. There are different styles of helmets. There's just the helmet that protects the top of your head. You have the helmet that wraps around your entire head and protects it. I recommend that one. I use that helmet. Yes, I only drive a 125cc motorcycle, but this helmet has saved me a couple of times. I have actually been in motorcycle accidents, and they are the absolute worst. Second motorcycle accident I had, I actually broke my collarbone. Most excruciating pain to ever go through. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. So you just wear that. I also recommend wearing a pair of gloves as well too. They do have motorcycle gloves. And on my left hand, I actually have a couple of scars from my first motorcycle accident in 2019. So now I wear gloves all the time. And these gloves have grips on the bottom, on the palms. That way I'm able to grip the handlebars of the motorcycle a lot better. Then it's got these plastic covering on the area of my knuckles, and it protects my knuckles in the instance of a motorcycle accident. I also recommend wearing closed-toed shoes, just like regular shoes, or if you want to buy motorcycle boots, you wear motorcycle boots too. So completely cover yourself when riding a motorcycle, for the obvious reason that accidents can happen. Second of all, make sure that the brake fluid, radiator fluid, if applicable. Some motorcycles are both air-cooled and liquid-cooled. My motorcycle happens to be liquid-cooled. So make sure that you've got enough radiator fluid, you got enough brake fluid. Make sure that your tires are properly inflated to the right PSI. Do these simple things, you're good to go. If you're going on a long trip, I don't recommend riding alone. I recommend riding with a group of people. Or if you insist on riding alone, make sure you have a GoPro or something to document your drive in case something happens. If in the event something happens, like a motorcycle accident, and it involves another person, and let's say you're at fault, okay, so by Thai law, you're required to cover that person's medical expenses. You cover their expenses. It's already been settled. And also, if you are learning how to ride a motorcycle, don't teach yourself. Make sure that you have somebody who professionally rides motorcycles to help you out. Because some people are naive and they think that they can ride a motorcycle, and next thing you know, they've fallen on their faces because they don't know what they're doing. I hope that these tips really help you out if you're living in Thailand or simply visiting and want to explore this beautiful country by motorcycle, which I recommend it. You know, I've gone to Rayong from Bangkok, and it was one of the most beautiful drives I had ever been on a motorcycle. I would love to do a drive to Phuket. However, that's a very far drive. Maybe sometime in the future. But for those of you that get on motorcycles, you get out there, stay safe. Podcast can be heard weekly on my YouTube channel, so subscribe to Calitraveler 93, as well as liking my Facebook page, Calitraveler 93, and the podcast will be available on Spotify and other platforms.